I'm not sure if everyone will understand this, but in the US, whenever a person talked about malicious Jewish global dominance, the official response from Israelis is that this is a conspiracy theory against Jews who are being wrongly portrayed as the puppet masters that are secretly controlling global finance, the media, and governments around the world. They say that such claims are just recycled tropes that Jews are orchestrating global economic and foreign policy domination, including when people say that Jews use the blood of children for rituals and are conducting a global human organ harvesting racket. Whenever anyone mentioned these alarming issues, that person faced accusations of hating Jews and spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But now the Epstein files show that it is all actually true. From the infamous blood libel to global control, that is exactly what they are doing and instigating, including that's what they were doing at Epstein Island. And we condemn all this heinous Israeli madness and their monstrous plans for a world under genocidal Zionist authoritarianism. These Epstein files are actually a look into the anatomy of a global Israeli operation, a coup through sex orgies and blackmail. In fact, the files clarify that blackmail through entrapment in sex trafficking, pedophilia, rape, child sexual abuse, and outright cannibalism of eating children alive and sucking their intestines in blood libel rituals is all true, recorded on tape, and the ensuing blackmail is Israel's key tool for achieving world domination and control of leaders worldwide and business elites, and entrapping them by Israeli agents like Jeffrey Epstein, and then forcing those leaders to do whatever Israel demands of them, or else their sex tapes will be made public. It is not a conspiracy theory anymore. They indeed want to rule the world, and this racist, tyrannical, supremacist, Hitler-style ambition of hate of ruling the world is continuing as we speak. How then isn't Israel not the enemy of the whole of humanity when it seeks world domination? Now, should Africa follow the global leadership of governments led by compromised pedophilia cannibals who are also promoters of genocide, sponsors of global terrorism? They defend the torture of hostages in Israeli dungeons. They uphold the dangerous extremist religious supremacism bigotry as their culture and flout international law. I am also asking this because of the deafening silence of Africa's leadership class when things are clearly going wrong globally, and those ills are ultimately coming to eat us alive here in Africa. The Zionist billionaires' attempt at bringing back colonialism in Greenland and increasing colonialism in Gaza by building holiday rivieras without the democratic consent of the people. Africa is silent. Zionist billionaires discussing recolonizing Africa. Africa is silent. The US Congress hearing that Western countries are funding terrorism and civil wars across Africa at the behest of Israel. Africans are silent. That they are funding Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, and Islamic State terrorists killing thousands of poor African peasants. Africa is silent. They even created Hamas, these people. Africa is silent. Have you heard the African Union holding any discussion about these huge dangers that Africa faces from Western state sponsors of terrorism and Western state sponsors of genocide? Is it foreign aid that has obliterated our mouths? Then the 2 UN Security Council seats that Africa leaders are demanding. What are we demanding those seats for? For what? We can't even speak out for the Africans that these people are murdering here. We can't condemn the hideous return of colonialism tendencies. African complicity in the killing of Africans is the same behavior like our chiefs who silently sold our own people to the slave traders in exchange for something for themselves. The leadership silence we are hearing across Africa on key disturbing issues is a disgrace to our true ancestral African values. Because what we are seeing today is the silence of corruption, the silence of betrayal of Africa, the silence of the sellouts of Africa, the silence of the traitors of Africa. And these sellouts are not only the leaders in government, it's also the leaders in opposition who are also silent and waiting for handouts from the pedophiles and child-eating cannibals overseas, as shown in the infamous Epstein files. Show me one single opposition leader in Africa who has expressed any concern on these issues. They are rats in waiting, just dreaming of one day being the big man, enjoying the grand presidential palace and the state ceremonies. Dear Africans, we need to start having great ideologue leaders on this continent again. If a politician cannot lead you to the world and defend your future in this world, just kick the clown back to their village and choose the simple person who is ready to cut all the costly presidential perks and get to work on the strategic challenges that we all face as Africans on this continent.
The Western democracy leadership values of cannibalism, pedophilia, and heartless genocide complicity means that they are all actually slaves of Israel's depraved and lawless Epstein world order.